Hello, it's great to have you here. My name is Yasser Said, and in this video, I'm going to share some of the tips and strategies that I've used to get an 8.5 in my computer-based IELTS examination that I appeared for in November 2022. If you want to see the details of my IELTS results, you can see them right over here. An 8.5 is a CEFR level 2, which means the highest level of English proficiency from an expert user according to the European Standards of English. There are multiple reasons why I got my 8.5 in the first place. Part 1. My IELTS journey. I started preparing for IELTS about 45 days in advance with only one clear goal in mind: to achieve a minimum of 8 band. To my surprise, it was an 8.5. I started practicing with the mock test and anything that came to me in the form of free videos, free written and reading content that we can find online using multiple YouTube channels, multiple websites, free resources from Cambridge, IDP, as well as British Council, all of which eventually helped me in doing all of my practicing for the examination and getting a high band score. Other than this, I focused specifically on my weak areas, one of which was listening and the other was reading. Because speaking, listening, reading, writing, all of these modules are exactly not the way they sound to be. It's not the typical reading, it's not the typical speaking, it's not the typical writing that you would do in your normal everyday life. There has to be a solid understanding of the test format before you actually appear for the IELTS examination. So if you have no idea about the test format, don't worry. Continue watching this video and further videos in my YouTube channel, and you'll have a better understanding of what the test format is. And that is super important if you want to score a high band score, because without having a proper understanding of the format, it is impossible for you to not just prepare, but also be ready to appear for the test and get a high band. And with all that being said, by now you might have realized that I did not join any academy. I did the IELTS preparation on my own with a proper self-study plan mechanism that allowed me to invest at least 2 to 3 hours on a daily basis and have a partner with me with whom I can share the subject material and practice my speaking. Other than that, if you think you can do it yourself, go ahead and do it. But if you are confused and you need some sort of a mentor or guidance, I strongly suggest you do join an academy. And please do not take any risk in case you have absolute zero understanding of the test format. That was the first reason. Let's come to reason number 2. I did my high schooling from an American international school at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That's where I spent most of my early childhood days, and it allowed me to build a strong foundation of my English language. I used to study the books by Prentice Hall on English literature, such as William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, William Wordsworth, and so many other great authors and writers of the English language. Oh, and who can forget Edgar Allan Poe? All of this eventually helped me to sharpen up my reading as well as writing skills, and not to mention my speaking skills as well. Because of the years that I've spent doing my education at the American International School, it allowed me to have that solid expression of confidence when I used to speak with others. Reason number 3, my medium of communication was English. Now, let me make this very clear. I belong from Lahore, a big urban city of Pakistan. Unfortunately, when people from non-English native speaking countries like Pakistan, like India, like Nepal, like Bangladesh, when they study the English language, they have a hard time in understanding. And that is totally understandable because English is not our first language. Unfortunately, a lot of people that study in our schools, in our colleges, the academic curriculum design is not considering English as their language, because the medium of communication in Pakistan is typically Urdu in the early childhood days. In India, it is Hindi. In Nepal and Bangladesh and countries like these, it has their own native mother tongue, like the Bengali language and the Nepalese language, which all together makes it difficult to adapt to the right English speaking, listening, and reading test practices. And that is a big challenge and a big obstacle. So if you believe you need more time, have at least 2 or 2.5 months to study. But Even though you may not be able to get an 8, at least a 7 or 7.5 band should do wonders for you. Reason number 4, I worked at a call center for about 6 months. When you work at a call center, your primary audience are people from the US, the UK, and Canada, even Australia, because they are the people you are directly communicating with in their first language, and that is the English language, which dramatically sharpens up and skyrockets your English speaking, your listening, and your reading capabilities. Okay, I consider this to be an extremely important reason. Reason number 5, I write for a living. I love writing. I believe good writing is like music to my ears, which is the exact reason that I got an 8.5. Why? First things first, I write copies, ebooks, blog posts, and whatnot. I have been writing for over a decade, and on Upwork, I'm also a top-rated freelance copywriter on the platform since 2019. I have nearly $40,000 in lifetime earnings on Upwork over the last 2 or 3 years, and most of my services are in just copywriting and writing. That eventually, when you've written so many articles and blog posts, it'd be wrong to say that I'm not good at writing. Last but not the least, I won't consider this reason to be the most important one, but it is worth mentioning here. On the exact date of your test, you are not just tested for your language or your English communication skills. You are also tested on the level of stress that you're capable to handle. My test center was at Mazang Road, British Council, Lahore. And the moment I stepped inside, oh fucking God, it blew my mind away. Carpeted floors, soundproofed walls, friendly invigilators, high-tech gaming equipment, high-tech gaming headsets. All of that contributed to a very low stress factor, allowing me to focus my time while giving the test and not worrying about anything that's happening around me. In short, I was stepped back in time. I thought that maybe I have stepped back in my American International School. So whenever you're booking for the test, I strongly suggest you book not for any other college or university, but the main center, the head office in that city as your booking center, because you'll get the best stress-free, distraction-free environment to give your test. Now let's discuss why I opted for a computer-based test. It allowed me to go back, make the edits, and then rewrite everything without making a mess on the paper. I didn't have to worry about handwriting, but I did have to worry about spelling mistakes and grammar because there was no spell checker when it comes to computer-based tests. All right, those were the reasons. Now let's come on to some practical tips on getting a high band, preferably a 7+ band for someone who has never appeared in an IELTS test before, for someone who has never had English as their main medium of communication. Let's discuss this in more details in this part of the video. Tip number 1, practice, practice, practice as much as you can. Whether you're doing it yourself or you've joined in an academy, there is one thing consistent. You have to practice all of the modules one by one in order to develop your skill sets. There is no shortcut to success when it comes to IELTS. In fact, there is no shortcut to success in any part of your life, but at least when it comes to IELTS, the more you practice, the better will be for you to get a high band score. Try to practice every single day and set aside for yourself some time for each section of the test. You also need to have the right time management principle, because if you don't know how you're going to time yourself, it is going to be extremely challenging for you to do the test. For example, let's talk about the writing part 2 module. You only need to write 250 words. For someone like me, it takes no more than 10 minutes to write 250 words completely without any problems. But for a lot of you, it may take about more than half an hour. If you take so long in writing a 250-word essay or a letter, how do you expect to complete part 1 of 150 words and then do a complete proofreading? There is going to be no time left for you if you are unable to do your test in time. And you don't even get me started on the listening part, because you can't listen to the recording the second time. And that should be enough to scare the hell out of you. You also need to develop a stamina to do all 3 tests, listening, reading, and writing in one go. You need to develop that stamina, because a lot of people, what they do is they spend a few hours a day on listening, few hours a day on reading and other modules. But when they sit together for one complete mock test, as if they're sitting in a real environment, they are blanked out. Why? Because after 2 hours, they're unable to do the test. You need to develop that stamina. You need to be sure about yourself that you can sit for 2 hours, 45 minutes and straight away give all of those tests without having any breaks. That is an extremely important part of acing your IELTS examination. No amount of practice is enough unless you're 100% sure that you can sit in one go, in one sitting, and do all of those tests without any problems. Read, read, read as much as you can. Go to an old bookstore, buy some novels, buy some good business books. You can even, grab your school textbooks and start reading them. The more you read, the higher chances will be for you to develop a strong set of vocabulary. Every time you read and you come across a new word, write that down. Then Google the synonyms for that word and make a list of it. This way, you'll learn how to use new words into context when making new sentences and new paragraphs. Vocabulary also helps you in eliminating the repetition from your writing as well as your speaking. So for example, I'm a very good writer, okay? I'm also a very good driver, okay? I'm also a very good comedian. I mean, technically speaking, I'm right, but that is boring. How would you improve it? I'm good at speaking, I excel at writing, and I'm excellent when it comes to cracking jokes. You see the different use of words? You see the new words that I'm coming up with every single time? This is the power of learning new words for your vocabulary improvement. All right, here's the last tip. I don't know how should I say this, but listening, reading, and writing. You can literally do that for free of cost using the abundance of free materials available online. But here's the tricky part. Who are you going to practice when it comes to your speaking? And who are you going to take your feedback from for your writing? These two modules, your speaking and your writing module, you need to have your feedback. And that is why you need to join an academy or partner with a mentor or someone online. Pay someone to check your written test, to conduct your mock interviews and highlight your weaknesses so that you can ace in your writing and speaking. And this is an often ignored problem of a lot of candidates who just fail to realize that, oh, you also need to get feedback. And they're like, okay, we paid 44,000 rupees or like $200 for the test, and we did not even know how to get a feedback on our writing and on our speaking. You can go on and prepare, but if you don't know the score, the feedback on your written test and on your speaking test, how would you eventually be 100% sure that you're going to nail it in the actual exam? So I strongly suggest that you do get a feedback. All right, thank you so much for watching this such a long video on my channel. You might be thinking that this is just some fairy tale stuff. No, I mean, I consider myself as an average person just like you. I just have that unfair competitive advantage, but you can also get a 7.5 or an 8 band. And trust me, it may be hard, it's not impossible, but it's also not that easy that you'll get it done with in one night. It's just not possible like that. We need a lot of time to practice. So those were my tips for getting a high band score in IELTS. Remember that preparation is the key to success. The more you practice, the better you'll get. And of course, opting for a computer-based test will make it a lot less stressful for you. I hope you found this video exciting, and I wish you all the best for your IELTS examination. I know it's going to be a nerve-wracking experience. So if you need any sort of advice, you can join my Facebook group. You can let me know in the comments below, and I'll be more than willing to help you out. Thank you so much once again, and I wish you all the best. Take care. Bye-bye.